My guest today is Kelsey McGuire. Kelsey is the Chief Growth Officer at Shardeum. We'll learn all about this today. Welcome to the show, Kelsey.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
It is a pleasure. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show, Kelsey. It would be great if you could please introduce yourself. I'd love to hear a little bit about your personal and professional backstory, what you've been doing in the lead up to joining the team at Shardeum.
Absolutely. So I'm Kelsey McGuire. I'm based here in New York City, where I've been for now quite a few years. But my background is primarily in marketing, branding, comms, that giant kind of umbrella of different activities that all are pretty loosely related or super related if you're working in a startup environment. And I started working in this field probably 11 or 12 years ago now, primarily in the fashion industry and beauty industries. And it was really exciting and interesting and perfect to be based here in the city for that type of work. But I was always really intrigued by the idea of working in tech, especially in kind of a fast-paced startup environment. So I was lucky enough to actually be attending an event downtown in Soho. I can actually kind of see the area from my window, which is why I'm looking out to the side there. Um, Many years ago now, that where I met someone that worked at Consensus, which is the big Ethereum focused company, kind of been in the news quite a bit recently with some of the work they're doing on the regulatory side or pushing the SEC here in the US. But I joined them after giving myself a crash course in Web3 in 2017, went through all the interviews and started full-time in Web3 in 2018. That time I was focused a lot on community strategy and growth, which was both for Consensus and Web3 and Ethereum, as well as a lot of the projects that Consensus sort of had as portfolio companies or spokes, as we called them back then, which included, MetaMask, Gitcoin, Truffle, the developer tool. So it was a really great kickoff to a Web3 career. From then I joined Cello and focused on some of the partnership marketing side of things for them. And at that time, it was an L1. Now it's an L2. And after that, joined CoinFund as their CMO. So got some exposure to the venture side. You can see I kind of like seeing every aspect of the business. Was able to work with them for a few years, as well as their portfolio companies and founders, and really honing in on what do you need to know to get started quickly in this space. You're not falling behind when it comes to thinking about marketing, branding, creative direction, all of that. And ended up joining Shardeum now about a year ago as their CGO. So again, it's all of those different kind of creative direction, comms, marketing, branding types activities that are so important in Web3, and of course, community building as well.
Yeah, got it. Thank you, Kelsey. That's quite a journey. And it's funny when you kind of describe it like that in terms of coming into the industry, 2017, 2018 into Web3. Anyone of kind of that 2017, 2018 era, I think that now kind of qualifies as being an OG because it's like, that's 6 or 7 years ago now. Web3 was really the Web3 that we think about today was very early stages back then, but it's been quite a ride since then, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, it's been, I guess, about 6 or 7 years since I started. Sometimes feels like 20, but not necessarily in a bad way, just because I feel like the space moves so quickly that you cram a lot of experiences and advancements into a very, very short period of time. So I do like it. It keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, me too. All right. So Shardeum, then we should talk about Shardeum. I guess we can approach this in a few different ways, but yeah, I can see it's described as the world's first EVM-based L1 blockchain, which uses dynamic state sharding. So I guess that's one of the differentiating features. But do you want to give us, from your perspective, Kelsey, I guess the kind of the big picture vision or overview of what you guys are all about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's really important to focus, of course, on the tech side, like auto scaling and what we're working to accomplish there as we head into incentivized testnet and then mainnet. But for me, and especially my line of work, we're also super focused on the human side. So something that really made Shardium stand out for me when I was assessing whether or not to join a year ago now was their approach to almost the human side of decentralization, meaning really trying to get out there to different geographies and not just staying in one location when you're thinking about building your community or your home user base. We have a lot of community based in India. We've spun up these proof of community meetups all around the world, including here in New York City. And it's just very community and human oriented to a degree where that I haven't necessarily seen in other projects. But to be fair, I mean, that is sort of the buzzword that I feel like a lot of L1s or other projects use, is that they're very community oriented. And I think that the only way to really see that that's happening and that's the case are from the numbers, like our very large Discord communities, over 550,000, but really the intention and seeing us grow as we head towards mainnet. So I'm excited for people to kind of come along on this journey and see that we're here to stand behind these different claims that we're making around our values and how community is important to us.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's actually a really insightful point, Kelsey, in that, you know, as much as traditionally different chains, different blockchain projects, crypto ecosystem projects, different coin token communities, they would really try and differentiate themselves based on the tech, right? Or claims of what they could do and what they couldn't do. But I think as we kind of begin to slowly take Web3 mainstream, you know, that is only going to get you so far. Kelsey, you'll be very only well too familiar with the idea that there's only so many people that really want to read exactly what your consensus algorithm is, and you know how decentralized you are, how many nodes you have, all that kind of stuff. It is not really very interesting to the vast majority of people. What they do care about is your culture, your community, your branding, even what you can do with your chain or your token, how your community is welcoming, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen the rise of meme coins this cycle, because it just kind of takes all the pretense of the tech and the scaling. As important as that stuff is for the underlying infrastructure, it takes that out of the equation for people and it makes things much more simple. Do you think there's any truth to that?
I do think that there's truth to that, because I think at our core, you know, as humans, we do desire that level of community, and a lot of us want to have a fun time. So I really think that the rise of the meme coin has shown how deeply rooted those factors are in so many different groups of people. So I think that that's been interesting, and I do think it's also so important to continuously reframe, just to a degree, like what you were saying, when we think about talking about our projects, like what is it actually doing for anyone, or what type of problem, in what way is it making someone's life easier? Because I think sometimes we just get so bogged down into exactly how everything works, and that's fascinating, but like you said, for a relatively small subset of people, most people just want to know enough that they feel like they can trust it to solve a specific problem for them, whether it's, in the past I've worked on projects that are sending remittances, or whether it's, you know, keeping your identity secure online. There's so many unique solutions that I'm sure will gain a lot of traction down the line, that focusing on those and building that base level of trust will be important. Just like I think using the internet, or, you know, driving a car, I sort of know how the car works. And, you know, if I lifted up the hood, I might be able to fix some very basic things, but I do not know how to build it start to finish, build an engine, a combustion engine from start to finish. And I think we need to understand the appropriate level of explanation for our different audience segments and our communities.
Yeah, I agree, Kelsey. And I think the Shardeum website actually does quite a nice job of this. Like, I really like the website is kind of really bright and welcoming. And you kind of go through, there's some information on how you guys propose to solve the blockchain dilemma. So it talks about, you know, scalability, security, decentralization. But it doesn't kind of get bogged down into it, and it is, yeah, kind of quite bright and welcoming, and the dashboards are nice. Still lots and lots of info there for people who want to dive into the technical stuff if they wish. But do you want to just, yeah, I mean, cover off this any way you like in terms of how you guys are kind of proposing to solve this dilemma, and anything that is kind of unique to Shardeum that you think is good to highlight?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for mentioning the website, that was one of the major projects that we've worked on over the past year, was really refining and building out how we want to present ourselves visually, because that's another key element when it comes to reaching different communities. You want to, Web3 is so strange and exciting and fun that if your brand doesn't reflect any of those elements, I feel like it can kind of fall a little short. It's not working for you as hard as it could when it comes to these different types of projects. And with Shardeum and solving the trilemma, and both from a technical side and really sort of bringing in that human element, we really were hoping to design a website that welcomed people, and really brought them in and tried to educate on, still, I would say our website for folks that already have a grasp on Web3, especially being an L1 in the stage we are now, but continuously trying to build out additional education materials, both for our beginners and our more advanced folks, to just bring people much more into the space and pursue that mission of bringing the next, I mean, we've heard this a lot, but the next billion people onto Web3, and no one's going to really want to engage if it's, doesn't look like any fun. Like, everyone has a finite amount of time, so you might as well make something enjoyable and a nice experience overall.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about this, the journey to mainnet, right? So I'd love it if you could maybe just provide some context in terms of where Shardeum is at, kind of on that journey. And I'm sure there are various test nets in place, but yeah, what does the state of it all look like at the moment? How's that rolling out? And yeah, where are we?
Absolutely. So it's been exciting. One of my favorite meetings that I have every week is a Friday afternoon. So it has to be pretty good because it's a Friday afternoon and I'm happy to join a meeting. But with our tech team, and it's been incredible to see these updates every single week around which specific bugs and fixes are being addressed and implemented. So I would say we are well on our way to our incentivized testnet, and mainnet, I'm hoping, will follow within the quarter afterwards. But we're still solidifying that exact timeline. And of course, as soon as we have something locked in a little bit more, we would love to share more with the community and set those expectations. But in order to kind of take the community with us a little bit more on this journey, we've also rolled out these weekly updates, like I said, from the tech team. They're very collaborative, as well as a small video series called the Lightning 3, which is where we get 3 questions from the community every single week, and address those with a member of the tech team as well, in an effort to keep everyone up to date. Because I know it gets really frustrating when you're building something pretty much from scratch with a lot of really unique and interesting features, that it's going to take a little bit longer, but we really think it's going to be worth it for everyone when we get there.
Yes, indeed. And look, I was just reading through the FAQ on the website. Look, it's, as I said, it's a great website, an immense amount of resource and information there. So it's just going through the FAQ, you can see the use cases of Shardeum. It's kind of the typical Web3 use cases, everything from DeFi, NFTs, metaverse, open source AI, staking, decentralized exchange, decentralized identity games, decentralized social media, everything covered. And of course, there's the technical stuff, dynamic state sharding, linear scalability, solves the scalability trilemma. So, saying all the right things. But it's a really interesting time, Kelsey, in Web3. Love to get your perspectives on kind of how you see the state of Web3 at the moment. It's a funny old market. We kind of feel like we're sort of in a bull market, sort of weren't. And then yesterday, of course, you would have seen the sudden change in sentiment with suddenly the Democrats seem to have switched gears. Maybe it was because of Trump embracing crypto. Now it looks like crypto is a potential election issue. So the Ethereum ETF looks like it will go ahead. It feels like there's a little bit of a shift happening. How do you think this affects the kind of the wider Web3 ecosystem, and how are we going in terms of attracting new users to Web3, Kelsey?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I have so many thoughts and opinions that I'll keep somewhat toned down to a degree. But I mean, having someone like Trump being billed as pro crypto is pretty devastating, and I think will hinder the efforts to onboard new types of folks and a more diverse Web3 community. But I'm very much hoping that there will be a more well-rounded perspective on Web3 and crypto in Washington. And I'm really hoping that some of the other parties, but it's basically two parties, will embrace Web3 and crypto more and really seek to learn more about it and not be put off by the occasional challenging reputational issues that we've faced over the past years. So, I think there's that whole aspect to it. Personally, I still feel very optimistic. I've been on this roller coaster for quite a few years now. I've seen a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and I'm very fortunate that as part of my job, I'm at a lot of these Web3 events. And you can really get a great temperature check there. And I really do feel that the overall sentiment is optimistic, engaged. I do think that the industry is maturing. It's baby steps, but you have to start somewhere. And that's all very, very encouraging for me to see. I think that every conversation that I have over the years, there are all these different chats with more of the enterprise and institutional sides of the business. People are gaining a little bit more confidence. And I do think we're learning more and more how to frame this interesting technology in a way that's much more value oriented than just sharing a lot of features and fun facts, which again are great for some of us, but will fall on deaf ears for others.
Yeah, very, very well said. Just as we start to finish off this part of the podcast, Kelsey, I was looking through again, you have like the kind of ecosystem part of your website with a whole lot of projects. I guess these are people building on the test nets and trying things out. Anything you can kind of speak to there? Why and why should developers potentially look at coming and building and deploying with Shardeum?
Absolutely. So there's a great list of current partners and partners that are in the pipeline. There's a few that I'm hoping we'll be able to announce in the next couple of months and make have a bigger conversation about. But I would really say like coming over, being a part of the Shardeum ecosystem, because we are quite focused on the human side of things. It's tapping into a really fun and engaged community. And also it's tapping into what I hope will be a very robust, supportive ecosystem program. And we already have some amazing people on the team working on that. But by that, I mean, are you building or starting your own project? Well, we have a few different resources where individuals can learn more, connect with other potential founders, connect with, myself or other colleagues if you're trying to think about marketing, branding, positioning, all of these different elements that if you hire a separate consultant or agency, or maybe just hiring would not be realistic at all due to the high cost, especially for folks that have been in the space for a while. So I would say it's just that supportive, encouraging environment that you can be a part of. And as we build out more and more programs, we're here to listen. If, when people join us and they have ideas or thoughts, it's not unheard of for those to be then woven into established programs. So that's a really exciting piece. And we're also quite focused on universities as well. So I think that there's a lot of different potential founders, current founders, people that can lend a lot of their different backgrounds and experiences to the Web3. So we're focused on bringing those groups in as well. So I would just also say that for people out there, whether you're a developer or you have other types of skills, everyone is certainly welcome to participate and everyone can add value.
Awesome. All right. Well, as we finish up this part of the podcast, Kelsey, do you want to just tell people what's the best place for them to go to if they want to learn more about Shardeum, either just from taking a look from a user perspective, or maybe for a developer, human side of Web3, Shardeum, where should people go?
Awesome. Well, thank you for asking. Yes, our website, so shardeum.org. Please go check it out. And we're always open to feedback. Our Discord is a great resource as well, and that's linked out from the website too. So those are the best resources for connecting with the community and just learning a little bit more. We'll also be at some in-person events over the summer, from Proof of Talk in Paris to ETHCC in Brussels. So all are welcome to reach out via the email on the website. And if you're going to be there, we're always happy to meet in person as well.
Awesome. All right, then links are in the show notes, of course, as well, listeners. But yeah, shardeum.org. All right, it's time to finish off the show, Kelsey, and we do this by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, Kelsey. Just going to run some questions at you. Just want your honest answers, hot take style, if you like. Question one for you is, Kelsey, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I am very far on the multi-chain opportunist side of things.
Yeah. And do you want to put some kind of context around that?
Absolutely. I do think it's very much going to be a multi-chain future. I think kind of relying on just one is a little short-sighted, and there's different communities that support different chains. If we want a diverse, engaged Web3, it means a number of different chains moving forward that can also each lend unique aspects of their features to the technology.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. What would you say then, Kelsey, is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
That we still have a long way to go when it comes to diversity and inclusivity, but we are making some progress.
Yep. All right. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So anything you like here, Web3 or Shardeum, what does it all look like in 10 years' time?
Oh, that's really exciting. And I do definitely agree with that quote, because I think we did think that things would move a little faster, building a brand new L1. So in 10 years, I see this as one of the leading L1s out there in that multi-chain future vision that I described in the last question.
Yeah, very nice. Okay. Another way of thinking about this is a great quote from sci-fi author William Gibson, who, of course, said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Kelsey, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. It's such a stark contrast between, so I live in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. There are buildings covered in paintings of NFTs. A lot of people know about Web3. I think Avalanche even might have offices in the building where I live. People are living and breathing crypto. It feels so huge here. Whereas there was a recent backpacking India program that Shardeum launched, and there were groups of people in different towns that were like, oh, I thought Web3 went away. So I think that really does help to illustrate from a human kind of geographical perspective, like it can be such a part of your everyday life to the point where the buildings are adorned with paintings of NFTs, whereas someone else, same age, same level of intelligence, any of those other factors, but just a different geography. And they thought that this tech was no longer, it didn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great perspective. And I mean, I'd love to just get your perspective as well on, I hate to go too political again, but it is an election year in the US, the presidential election cycle, which means we get the usual amount of just complete craziness. But for the first time, it does seem like crypto will play a bit of a role in that. What do you kind of think what do you get what's the sense of how big a part this could play, and what do you think is exciting or what worries you?
Absolutely. So I feel like, kind of similar to your last question, I think that it will feel like it's playing a huge part to the people in Web3. I think it'll feel much smaller to those outside of the space. That being said, I'm tentatively very optimistic that the Democrats will start to explore the really interesting, unique aspects of Web3 and crypto, that it's much more than folks yelling at each other on Twitter and price speculation. There's like a whole new internet people are trying to build and kind of revolutionize the whole financial system, which they've probably heard a lot before, but I hope that they really start to dig in and realize that there is a demographic that's not strictly conservative, that is very much excited about this new technology. So, and I'm just clinging to my optimism here and really hoping that that is the direction it will go. But my hair is already starting to turn white from the election year. So hopefully the conversation will become much more well-rounded when it comes to Web3.
Yeah. Turbulent times ahead, no doubt.
Absolutely.
And it brings us, I suppose, nicely to our final question, Kelsey, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Oh, great question. Okay, well, unfortunately, I think that this author has since revealed some opinions in their personal life that I'm definitely not in line with. But this was a very sort of formative book I read when I was quite young, and that was Ender's Game, as well as Orson Scott Card's like whole Alvin Maker series, which were more sci-fi fantasy. But for me, my dad loves science fiction, so we grew up, talking a lot about it. And Ender's Game really was such a perfect introduction to that genre that really stuck with me and really kind of broadened my perception of what storytelling could look like, if that makes sense, as well as sort of the bounds of this connection between games and real life. And I won't give too much away just in case someone somehow hasn't read it yet that's listening, but that book was so fascinating to me and still is something I remember very clearly.
Yeah, Ender's Game, 1985, written by Orson Scott Card, set in the future where humankind, there's a conflict with an insect alien species called the Buggers, and Earth's international military force recruits young children to be trained as elite officers. This sounds, I haven't read Ender's Game, but this sounds a bit like Starship Troopers to me. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure there are some parallels there, and it's there's quite the twist in this one, and I definitely recommend, especially because it is geared towards, I feel like, a more kid, young adult audience, but as
hmm.
far as I remember, retains a level of sophistication that would still be intriguing to an adult. That one was really fascinating. Do you have a favorite of all time or one that you could just recommend to me?
No, I won't say book, but I mean, typically funnily enough, Kelsey, the most popular answer to the question here on the show is actually the three body problem, um, which I don't know if you've seen the recent
Oh yeah, I've seen
the
that. That's very buzzy right now.
yeah, the recent Netflix adaptation. But even before that, yeah, the book, which is originally written by a Chinese author, but it's been translated, of course. It's a trilogy novel. But yeah, it feels like there's just a big crossover between, I guess, crypto people and sci-fi. Star Trek is also a popular answer, but yeah, Ender's Game, fantastic choice.
Thank you.
Well, look, Kelsey, this was fun. It was great having you on the show. Great to spend some time with you today. Close it out, I suppose, by just telling people where they can find you on Twitter or wherever else you like to hang out online. And of course, yeah, where people should go to learn all things Shardeum.
Awesome. Thank you. So on Twitter, I'm at Hey McGuire. People will see I don't really post a whole lot, but I'll probably be ramping that up a little bit, especially around some of these big conferences. LinkedIn, it's sending a message over there is great if that's a platform you're more comfortable with. And then for all things Shardeum, shardeum.org is a great resource, and we'll link out to all of our other social channels.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey. All the best, and bye for now.
Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. That was Kelsey from Shardeum. Hey, Kelsey was great. Yeah, really enjoyed the kind of human side to Web3 perspective. Very, very important. Yeah, because I think people can get too lost in the technicals when, yeah, people, they do want the human side, the community side, the culture, the vibe. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, thank you to Kelsey and the Shardeum team. Thank you to you for listening or watching here at the end of the show. That's another episode. Thanks, team. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. Bye for now.